Welcome back, guys. Royce and I are here in the car, another COVID lockdown diary video. It's an exciting day. We've got lots of things to do. I have to pick up some trees for the cabin. Last I left you guys, you know that I had some issues sourcing some of the trees. Well, I've got a source for the trees, so we're good to go. And then I'm gonna go forage for some fiddleheads. So I'm hoping they're ready. Fingers and toes crossed. Let's head out on an adventure. All right, so I did that. I got curbside delivery of my little trees. There's a quick little sneak peek at some of them, and boy, don't they ever look healthy. Look at that. So there's lots of jack pine in here, red oak. So down here I've got some pussy willows, and I also have some black willow. Around the bay, I'm hoping to put some of the willow just down around the shoreline there. I think it'll be really, really pretty. So I'm really happy to do this. Every year at the cabin I put in a lot of trees. This year I've got about 100 in there, and at first I was worried that I was only allowed to get 100 of one type of tree, but I wanted a variety, so no, that wasn't the case. So we made up my orders so that I got 100 trees total, but of lots of different varieties, so I'm pretty excited about that. Now these are bare root stock, and what that means is that there's no earth on them. So they're just sort of naked little roots. So super important to get these into the ground within the week. So I'm going to be very busy very soon putting these in. And they look super healthy. I've really had no issues with the trees from here, except for when some of the tent caterpillars and that start chewing on the leaves. I'm pretty worried about the gypsy moth situation this year. There are tons of you know, I can see those little pupae on the trees, so I think it's going to be a huge hatch this year of gypsy moths, and they're anticipating a huge defoliation of a lot of our deciduous trees. So I do have quite a few conifer trees that I'm planting this year to kind of get around that. So there's also some red pine in there as well. And I also have some nannyberry. I'm hoping the nannyberry don't get hit too hard. I'm pretty excited about those. Nannyberry are an excellent fruit to eat, and birds like them too. So we'll see. I'm really hoping that my deciduous trees don't get hit too hard with the gypsy moths. The only issues I've had with some conifers, especially the jack pine, are some of the, I believe they're sawfly larvae. They go on there and they climb up and they can literally defoliate the needles on the tree within the day. So I've had to do some manual extraction of those on my jack pine, but I've been super happy with the trees. They're really healthy. You know, that's why I get a lot of them, because there will be some losses each year. So anyway, really pumped. Let's get on the road. We've got to harvest some of our fiddleheads. Right, so I've made it to my destination, and looks like we lucked out. Perfect. Right on time, almost too late. Holy moly. Look up here, my location. Some of them are actually up, but some are right where we need them to be. So I'm going to get picking. Just want to show you guys, here's my lingual knife. This is the one I've been using today for the harvest. Isn't that pretty? So today my goal is to get some fiddleheads for myself and my neighbor. My neighbor just had a surgery and loves foraging for ostrich fern fiddleheads, but unfortunately cannot get out into the forest to get them. So I'm going to get him some fiddleheads this season. So it should be pretty exciting. As you can see maybe around me in the video, the black flies and mosquitoes are starting to come out. Hopefully they're just, they're not biting yet. I think they're just sort of testing me out, but I don't think it's warm enough for them to start biting. So let's hope this goes well. So this is the dead giveaway for the ostrich fern. It's this giant fertile frond here. And if we look below, we see the cluster of young fern or fiddleheads. Now a few of these are up, these ones aren't, so we're going to keep going on our path. Usually some sunny areas where the soil's been a bit warmer, they're popping up. And then when you look at the fiddleheads, I'll show you in a sec. They're very, very identifiable. So here's a little cluster of them here, and let's pick one. And you can see the fern head is all kind of coiled up there. You see that deep groove? It almost looks like celery when you cut it. So that's what the fiddlehead fern looks like. These are really great. I steam them, but you always want to treat them with about 10 minutes of steam. If you boil them, I boil them for about 10 minutes and I drain off the water. One thing I love about foraging fiddleheads this time of year is just hearing the sounds of nature. So behind me there's a beautiful pond, little swamp there, and you can hear the spring peepers. So nice. They're not going to be out here for too much longer. Once these little woodland forest puddles dry up, then the frogs will they'll disappear. But so nice to hear these noises in the spring. There's other things on the floor too in the spring. This one is wintergreen. A little breath freshener on the trail. Tastes like wintergreen. Last year I made a really good kombucha, a wintergreen kombucha. I took the leaves of the wintergreen and I infused them into my kombucha tea, so it's another really good use for them. I also put the berries in the tea as well. So here's another cluster of fern. This is not the fiddlehead fern. As you can see, if I was to take one of these off, it sort of has a round stem and a little papery husk on it. I believe this one is a cinnamon fern, but this isn't what we're looking for today. And here's another one, another false alarm. Look how fuzzy these ones are. These are not fiddlehead ferns. You can see how different they look, really fuzzy, and they have a round stem and cross section. Eureka, I found some. I don't know if you guys could see that, but you can see all the spores coming off of the fertile fronds of the fern. How cool is that? So got a bunch of fern here, which is great. And I've got a bunch I'm going to harvest here next week, it looks like, because some are still in tight clumps. Speaking of bugs, look at that. Just down here getting some fiddleheads and woo! Hello, little friend. I don't know what that is. But it sure is an interesting little woodland creature. There's a bunch of them around here. I don't even know what that is, but if anybody knows, let me know down below in the comments. And you gotta make sure to look under the leaf detritus, and there you go. There's some nice fiddleheads there. And I should mention, when you're harvesting fiddleheads and you've got this big clump right here, don't chop it all off and take all of them. You know, this is where the plant gets the energy from the sun and puts energy down into the root system. So only take a couple, you know, from a head like this. You want to harvest these very sustainably. Royce is trying to get away from the bugs by going into swamp water. He's having a grand old time. Then he wants to run back in my patch here and roll around, which is bad. Stop. What a goose. Poor guy. Should get him a bug suit. Oh, look at those bugs on the screen, guys. Oh, are you swatting your heads now? Oh boy. They're not biting. Just so you guys know, they're not biting. So you guys know the bugs are not biting me, but I think the dog may be getting a little bit hit with the bugs. Poor guy. I haven't been here that long and I'm already filling up my basket. This is good. Me and my neighbor are going to have a good feast. Some of you may be wondering where my basket came from. You can see it there. It came from ADK Basketry. I had it custom made, so you can check them out online or on Facebook. It's a really, really beautiful basket and hand woven. I love it. Now we're just headed to a different area. I may not get fiddleheads here, but it'll be a nice walk here in the forest. We'll see if we can find anything exciting. This time of year, sometimes you can see moose. I know Royce has been very interested in sniffing the ground, so we're gonna be really, really careful. But yeah, I might see some interesting things. Let's find out. Not too far in, I'm seeing more of these fern, the little furry ones. These are the interrupted ferns that we saw before. There's quite a lot actually in and around here. Pretty neat. And a few more fiddleheads. These are really young ones, so I'm not going to take these. Like, look how small those little fiddleheads are. They're like super teens. I don't want to bug these ones. I'll leave them go for a while. You may be wondering what these leaves are blanketing the ground. You might think, oh, it's a trout lily. But if you look closely, they do not have that little speckling that I showed you guys last week on their leaves, so it doesn't look like trout skin. These are Canada Mayflower, and they like to blanket the forest floor. They have a beautiful white flower later on in the season. Let's see, maybe one over here. So yeah, it's starting to get a little bud there, little tiny flower bud. How cool is that? So these are Canada Mayflowers. You'll see them all over in the eastern forest. So let's talk about how early things are coming up this year. Is that the same for you guys? Like, I was surprised this week actually that I could harvest as many fiddleheads as I could. Normally about 10 days from now would be kind of where I would expect to see them starting to come out. So I don't know. I don't know about you guys, but I feel like everything is a bit earlier this year. You know, it's already pretty warm out. I'm sweating to death in this outfit that I'm wearing. Super warm, obviously. A little Princess Auto jacket and my sweater. I don't know why I thought it was necessary to be this warmly dressed. But anyway, but yeah, things are coming up really early. It's really warm. So I'm going to have to keep my eyes peeled for morels coming up soon. Soil temperatures for morels have to be around 15 degrees Celsius or so for them to come out. And we had a good rainstorm last night, so I'm really, really hopeful that this year I'm going to have a flush of my oyster mushrooms at the cabin fingers and toes crossed. It's supposed to rain really heavily for the next little while. It was supposedly supposed to rain really badly today all day long, but got a bit of a break here to kind of get out and get those fiddleheads for this week. So yeah, lots of adventures to come. And in other good news, looks like my quail are hatching out. So hopefully I'm on the list to get at least 10 to try them out and see how things go. So I'll keep you guys posted. Lots of exciting things coming up here on the channel. This little area of runoff here. There's some wild raspberries. So don't forget to bring your GPS out when you're out on hikes or other forays, just to mark off where your wild edibles are. So these are some raspberries. These are a real pain for us on the trail because they can definitely, get stuck to your pants and stuck in Royce's fur, and they're a little bit sharp. But the berries, oh yeah, they're really good. It's worth it. Of course, with me today I have my Garmin 64S. So over the years, I just sort of mark off little waypoints as to where I find my wild edibles or any other interesting features of the area. So I really like this little unit here. Here's an interesting find. This looks like a currant. So I'm really I have not found this actually growing like this. So I'm going to mark this on my GPS big time because that's really exciting. This could be another really interesting berry harvest. So there's all through here is currant. So there's a really cool app that bugs. There's a really cool app I want to mention to you guys. It's called Picture This. So if you're in the woods and you're somewhere and you just want sort of just a general idea of what you're looking at, you can upload a photo or take a picture of what you're looking at and it will help you identify it. I found it to be really helpful, especially if I'm not 100%. But keep in mind with any app, they can be wrong, right? So don't use it if you're using it for identification purposes for eating something, but it might be something to get you started to get out your books and take a look at what you may have. So it's called Picture This. It's a really interesting app. I think you can get 7 days free, and then I forget how much it is per year. I think it's around 30 bucks a year. I guess depends on the kind of features that you want. But you can store pictures on your gallery. Tells you lots about the plant, and it's really interesting. So I hope you guys check it out. Lots of runoff here in the forest. Look how rich that is in tannins from the pine trees. Royce doesn't like swimming, but he will spend all day long hunting for frogs and doing things in shallow water. So whenever he likes. But yeah, try to get him to swim in a lake. That would be a no-go. He gets super stressed out if we swim in the lake because he doesn't want to come in after us. Nice to see these big old white pines in here. These are really important trees, and hopefully one day at the cabin, those trees that will let grow up there in the field get really big like this. These are super important, especially for black bear. Little cubs will run up here for safety, coming up very soon. So very important to have in the ecosystem. Look down here in the mud. There's a fresh little deer track. It's pretty small. Maybe a young female or something like that, maybe? I don't know. Pretty neat. Here's some beautiful cattail in this small little pond here. Cattail are super useful, for survival. You can eat pretty much every part of this plant. And the young shoots are delicious. And in the spring, these are the old sort of heads there. I mean, this stuff certainly is good fire starter. You can stuff a pillow nice and soft. But eventually, sort of the male part of the plant here, when the new one comes up, basically, will have some pollen on it. And that is great. Add it to flour. Very nutritious and high in protein. And of course the young stems here, you can make them into little hot dogs when they're nice and green. Look at the little frogs moving around. Everywhere in this big puddle. Frogs and tadpoles. Oh, you can hear the frogs in the background. You guys probably can't hear it. This is a beautiful little marshy area. Oh boy, he's going in. He's going in. He's going to do it. Nah. Don't know if we'll ever see a frog. They just kind of disappeared in the puddle. There, oh, one just skipped across the water there. That's pretty cool. I wanted to focus in on these plants right here. This is leatherleaf and it's in bloom right now. One thing I love about this area is there's a lot of bog plants that you really wouldn't find in a lot of places. Let's do a close-up right here. There is the flower of the leatherleaf. Very cool. It's just everywhere, all along this little swampy, boggy area. Love bogs in spring. And here is some young cattail. Very tasty little shoots that you can get out of here. I'm not going to yank it out, but yeah, nice and tasty this time of year. And there's a lot of it. There, took one out just so you guys could see. Nice shoot, nice and spongy there, very tasty. I wonder, you probably pickle these. I don't know if anybody's pickled these before. But always be careful when you're harvesting cattail to make sure you're harvesting out of clean water. You don't want to be harvesting this stuff out of, you know, junk water and eating it. You could get sick. But I just want to show you what the young cattail looks like. Just along the shore here, I want to show you something really interesting. This is not young cattail. Very, very, very important distinction. So you can see how this is very flat. If I go on top of it, see it's really super flat. That is iris, and iris is toxic, so you don't want to mistake that for your cattail. So here we've got some cattail over here. See, it's like just the spray of leaves. Here, that's not. Like, there's a lot of leaves coming out for sure, but look how flat it is. See that? So there you go. That's iris, that's toxic. Do not mistake that for your young cattails along the shoreline. There's lots more of that iris right here. This is the blue flag iris. Not in bloom yet, but that one's going to be a beautiful patch right there. Some other things coming up this season are the horsetails. I love making horsetail tea, and there's some of it coming up here. It's a little bit too early to harvest them, but it's also something I'm on the lookout for. Horsetail. Just a reminder, we're not the only ones on the trail here. Looks like there's some coyote scat there. I don't know what it's been eating. It's like almost like little spines of feathers or something like that. Take a look in this part of the little bog here. There's some sticks right there that some beavers have been feeding on, so there's probably some beaver in here. Royce is definitely onto something. He's like pointing off in this direction, wanting to show me this stuff, so he definitely smells them in here. So yeah, we're not the only ones here. Oh yeah, and here's where they're kind of coming in and out, and there's poop down there too. Yeah, you can see kind of different spots where they have little spots where they're kind of coming in and out and feeding. Haha, here we go. Moose poop. So it's a bit dry, so it's not, you know, obviously super fresh. Get out of there. This is this year's, that's for sure, and still a little bit damp, so maybe a few days ago. Oh, keep our eyes peeled. This is prime moose country right here. Getting hungry on the trail, so I stashed one of these in my backpack. Never tried this before. It's a Go Macro bar. Maple sea salt bar. A little bit of energy on the trail here, so ooh, there you go. Another one of my favorite shrubs in this area is wild raisin. I have some of this at home in my wild edibles garden, but there's a bunch actually in here, and there's a more mature one over there. So they actually look like, you know, these big little purple, you know, berries basically that have like a hard pit in them. So these are wild raisin, and you don't harvest these till later on in the season, but that's what they look like now in the spring. It's a nice little shrub. Further on up the trail, I want to show you, these are some wild service berries. These are a wonderful little forest treat, and they smell amazing, and their pollinators, I bet, are very happy that these are blooming right now. Okay, I lied, they don't smell that amazing, but I'm pretty sure a moth finds them very attractive. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed today's adventure. Start off getting some trees and getting some fiddleheads for me and my neighbor. And turn into a pretty awesome adventure if I do say so myself. Hope you guys have a great week as always. We'll see you in the next video. Take care.